Rabbi Lieberman, where is he? He just told me that today's the happiest day of the year because the way it works is the whole entire year you go mamish mar b'simcha, at least from Adar for sure. From Mishnichlas Adar, mar b'simcha is mar all the way until today. Finally, it goes down. You go memaitim b'simcha until tomorrow. In other words, right? So it means that today is the most mar b'simcha. So then we have to be mar b'simcha. And the truth is that there's a whole shaila in the Paiskim on Shabbos if you're allowed to learn a new sugya. What's the reason why you wouldn't be allowed to learn a new sugya on Shabbos? Because it's painful sometimes to learn a new sugya. It's a little difficult, even though we try as hard as we can to make it not difficult and painful. But sometimes it's a little bit difficult, a new sugya. But there's a certain more ridiculous geschmack about talking about a sugya that you already know and you have everything in place. You mamish know everything about the sugya, and then you just have a few questions about the sugya. It's very geschmack, right? That's a tremendous ribuya simcha. So what, can you imagine a bigger simcha than doing that and also starting Katmana all on the same day? You can think of a bigger simcha than that? That's what I think we're going to do. What do you think? Because I have a few more questions that I have to mention with Chazar, a few more hours. But it's going to be such incredible simcha that you should probably hold on. You probably hold on because you can. Who knows? The simcha can get you all fuzzy and excited and everything. So it's a tremendous simcha. So that's number one. Number two is that Rabbi Cooper, when I just walked in, he said to me a nice diak. What happens Friday night? Not Friday night. Let's say Shabbos morning. It's a more normal case. It doesn't matter, our case. Shabbos morning, you look at the cholent, and you go, whoa, it's going to burn out. And you don't have water or whatever. You're not interested in starting up with the water, this and that, or you're a Sephardi and whatever. You have all types of water problems and whatever. So now you say, look, you know what? Let's just take off the cholent from the hot plate. Just take her off and put her onto the counter. We're going to eat in 2 hours anyways. Just let's take her off of the hot plate and that's it, right? So you take it off and you put it on the living room table. Why'd you put it on the living room table? So that mamish, that way they could start the meal as fast as possible because, you're afraid that the challenge was off the hot plate for a while. So you're going to, the second you come in from davening, you'll put it on there. You'll put a little cover on the top and it won't be atmana because it's not covering the whole entire pot and whatever. Fine. Okay. So your wife comes, she says, what are you doing? You should be learning. What are you doing with the challah? So you tell her what's burning. So I had to take it off. So she says, what are you, Mishig? It's gonna be cold by the time the meal comes. So she said, well, you say, so what are we supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? So she says, I have an idea. We'll take a pot and we'll turn it upside down. Don't you know anything? She tells her Rav Vazner, what, you're firmer than Rav Vazner? We'll take a pot, we'll turn it upside down, and we'll put the cholent onto the hot plate. What's wrong with you? Why don't you listen during the Shiur? She's going to start yelling at you. So she starts doing that. So you have to stop her. You have to tackle her. Right? Obviously, you won't be a neither, but you have to tackle her. Why? Because Rabbi Cooper says to me, the whole pshat in the Bir Halacha, what was the whole pshat in the Bir Halacha? The whole pshat in the Bir Halacha was that when you have a pot that is gishpal, it's split from the fire. It's not, misyaches to the fire. It's not there connected to the fire. So then you can put a potato kugel on top of a cholent pot. But Mashen came, when you take let's say a blech, that was the case we were talking about, or the case of the Shulchan Aruch, a pot, and you take that pot, and you're using that pot for one goal and one goal only, to cover the fire. And the lashon of the Mishnah Berurah, the Bir Halacha was, Ein ela listoi misakira, right? Rak listoi misakira. You're trying to be memayit the chayim of the kira. So when you're doing it and it's connected to be memayit the chayim of the kira, so then that becomes one big kira. And then in that case, we said that the only way you're allowed to do that is if you have Tanai Chazar, then it just bleibt considered like a covered fire. But here, in this case, why are you putting this upside down pan? Bishlam, if you're putting this upside down pan, because forget, you have your hot plate, you have your garfakatim, and you have this pot that's upside down, and it's not considered, like the Rav Vazner's lashon. He said that the pshat is that it's already not considered misyaches to the fire. It's already removed from the fire. It's removed from the fire. Here, you're just doing it in order to lessen the heat of the fire, but it's all misyaches now to the fire. So therefore, the only way it's mutter to do this is if you have Tanai Chazara. So over here, you put it on the living room table, and that's karka. Okay, so if you have the ran, but the ran's not l'chatchila. I'm saying the ran's not l'chatchila. So it comes out, mamish murder gazach. It's when you learn the lumdus, it's like all the l'char is right. It could be that the makim to be makel because there's a shaila and hot plate in the first place or whatever. No, a hot plate over here won't help you because we're dealing with a cholent. We're not dealing with a baked good. So over here, it's a cooked item. So it's mamish a problem. Again, it's a rare case. It's not such a normal case. Normal people are just gonna, take off the cholent, put the pan immediately onto the hot plate, and then he asks because he plans on doing it right away. So it's not a normal case. I'm just saying, but when you know the longest, the mamish makes all the nafkamina locha. A person just knows xeris akosiv, upside down pan and a fire mutter. Right? This case is no, according to everybody, it's no good. It's not, you don't have the Noid Yehuda because it's not a baked item. You don't have our svar of Vosner. You don't have our svar of Vosner, and you don't have the Chazon Ish at all. The Chazon Ish also has to be food in there anyways, right? So we were the only ones that were Mako. We'll call him Rav Vosner. Vosner was Mako because you're doing it not just listoy masakira. You're doing it. You have a steam masakira ready, and you have something that's split off from the kira. But now that you know the lumdis, it comes out that case with taka be also. It's a mamish. Come again. What's the daf kamina? What's something? What? No, that's still called bishul. No, I don't think so. That's the whole vort of the Ran. The Ran says that it doesn't have a mechzik mevashel. The Ran is saying, why is there no mechzik mevashel? Because no one bakes an item on top of a fire. But certainly a cholent is certainly something you cook on top of a fire. So for sure you don't have the Ran. Sorry? Come again? No, but that we keep saying. We keep saying that it's not enough just the Ein Derech Bishul. That you see the whole time. The difference between Siv Gimel and Siv Hey, it says both of them are Ein Derech Bishul. That's what it says. Sorry? No, a kugel and a schnitzel pshat are baked products. So a baked product, nobody makes on top of fire. You have that other svara that we spoke about once. Come again? I'm not sure what you mean, right now. No, once you have a baked product, that's done. A separate svara. There's another view that says when you have baked product, no one makes baked products on top of the fire. The only thing you do about a baked product on the fire is you heat up a baked product. Right? That's a char. Okay, that's one interesting svara. Sorry? Yeah. Which case, a challah? Right. But anyways, that's also, it was out of the fridge. It's in the chatchila onto a blech.
No, but you want to put an upside down pan on the blech. To stop it getting burnt at the bottom. You don't have any round, you don't have any das.
The das is to get it hot. I don't know.
No, it's not for water.
I want to say that if I take the challah, so anytime he's asking now, anytime I take challah out of the freezer and I want to put it onto a hot plate, I anyways don't want to put it straight onto a hot plate because it's just going to burn it. What? Let me think about this hour. It's in the middle of the shiur. It's not kedai in the middle of the shiur. It's a hour. Let me think about it. Okay, that's number one. Number two is that in general, there's a shayla we spoke yesterday. I'm going to have to talk about this mitzvah Shem. We're going to start out tomorrow now, and we have to talk about anyway submerging kugel inside or submerging kishka inside the actual cholent, etc. From even before Shabbat. We'll talk about all that. But just the case I said yesterday is that you took a potato kugel, and Shlomo Zalman wasn't sure if you take that potato kugel and you put it on the top of the cholent. Right? Remember, Shlomo Zalman said that maybe a pot on gabe a pot, a ketera on gabe ketera, so it doesn't have to be on top of the lid or whatever. Maybe even if it goes into the pot a little bit, right? He doesn't mean putting it into the cholent mamish. That's the whole shot. So somebody asked me afterward, isn't that a problem of bishul achar fiyah? Isn't that a problem of bishul achar fiyah? You have a potato kugel. Shlomo Zalman's talking about mitzad. Is it mutter mitzad ketera or gabe ketera? He says, what's a potato kugel? It's a fiyah. And that the only thing we ever said was when you take it and put it on top of a cholent pot, so then all it's doing is getting hot. So that's a fiyah achar fiyah. So that's not a problem. But here you're putting it into a cholent. The cholent is bishul. So maybe you're doing bishul achar fiyah. Right? You're taking this potato kugel and you're putting it into the cholent, right? It's wrapped with silver foil, right? So it says you're putting it into the cholent. It's bishul achar fiyah, right? What do you say to that? What? The viola, we're going to talk about this more when we get to Atmana. The viola, it's not a problem because once the silver foil there and it's blocking it, the only thing that's going to happen is it's going to get heat. It's going to get heat. It's still not going to get liquidy. The water is not getting in there, and maybe a little bit of moisture and whatever. So that would be considered an afiyah acharfiyah and not a bishul achar. It's not exeris a chosiv, that because it's in pot. Pot is considered like a bishul. It's talim mitzias. Is it now just when you're going to do the heat there? What's going to happen? The heat is just making it hot. That's Hashem. We're going to talk about that more. So Maisa, right? Maisa, no. Is there any case ever that will be makel on a hot plate? Is there any case that will ever be makel straight in the scene of lechatchila on a hot plate? So let's listen to a Zak case. What do you think about this case? Somebody wakes up, 10 o'clock in the morning, he's in shul. 10 o'clock in the morning, he's in shul. And he says, he's having a kiddush that day. And he realizes, I never put the potato kugel on the hot plate. I never put the potato kugel. What was his original plan? His original plan was that, he got the potato kugel, let's say, he was going to put it on last night on an upside down pan on his hot plate and let it sit the whole night or something. Or even this morning, he was going to put it on. He's going to put it on this morning before he left the shul, or early in the morning, 7 o'clock. Put it on a on the hot plate on an upside down pan. And that already is nishkeferlich. By the time that Shabbos comes, by the time that the Kiddush comes, it'll already be hot. Then he realizes he's sitting at 10 o'clock. It's almost davening is almost over. And 10:30, if they don't have potato kugel, there'll be a hafkanah. Right, so what's he going to do now? So is he allowed to take this potato kugel and put it straight on a hot plate? This was a question that was asked to one of the great tzaddikim of Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. You know who it was? Who do you think it was? Who do you think the tzaddik was? Huh? What? You got it. Rabbi Kallus from Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. What do you say? This is a question. It was 10 o'clock. I kind of don't know what he was originally planning to do. I don't know what he's originally planning, because I think like an upside down pan and a potato kugel, it'll get hot from 7 in the morning or whatever. Yeah, okay. So I think it was his original plan. 10 o'clock, he wakes up. It was right after Daf Torah. And he says, he's got a mamisha, a p'kuch nefesh shayla. He came over to talk, right? P'kuch nefesh. How's he going to have the hot potato kugel? He forgot to put it on. Is he allowed to just put it straight onto the hot plate? What? And he was a Svardi, He was a Svardi. But I'll tell you what his lashon was. I have nothing to do with this lashon. He told me, but I don't want any Svardi kulas. That's what he told me. I told him, by the way, by Bishul and Chazar, you guys are much more, you're much more violent when it comes to Bishul and Chazar. It's not the Svardi kulas. He said, I don't know. You know what he meant, everybody said. You know what he was being ramas to. Right? But he told me, 10 o'clock, in a half an hour, potato kugel on a hot plate will get hot, I think. No? It's on the middle of the kiddush. They'll bring it out. If he runs home now, right? It's a good shiloh, no? So let's see what he has. First of all, he has the Noda B'Yehuda, right? He has the Noda B'Yehuda. The Noda B'Yehuda says that it's always mutter to take a baked product and put it on top of an oven. That's the Noda B'Yehuda brings the Ran. The Dagam Rabbi brings the Ran, and that's how he answers up the stira between Siv Gimel, Siv Hey. It's the Noda B'Yehuda, Rabbi Yisrael. I mean, who could be machmer in the Noda B'Yehuda in a Shas Gadol like this? Another thing he has is nachalts. There is epis svara that's being thrown around that a hot plate is not a normal place to cook, and it's not a derech levashel. Again, that I don't necessarily, adhere to such a svara. I mean, but it definitely is thrown around. It's definitely thrown around. So you put that together with this. So what do you think? You think this can be makel? What? There's no goyim. If I told me that's exactly what was coming off. I don't want to say it in public, but you cause such a troublemaker. He was coming to tell me, don't give me that kula. Okay, don't cause trouble. That's exactly what he was coming to tell me. He's a troublemaker. Right? Troublemaker. Okay. The Israeli blacks are, I thought pum fakert, Rabbi Zinger. Pum fakert. I thought because he's a Svardi, he doesn't have that siruf that the hot plate, because I told you that the Svardim, don't you remember what we said from Rabbi Sina Bashal's nephew? He told us that what? And yesterday we verified it with his wife, with the Almana. Right? He told us that the Svardim do cook on a hot plate. What are you causing trouble for? But that far, what? Okay, I don't know. That's what he said. He's what?
One thing on it, once.
What he said?
What is it?
What do you say? Can you make on such a thing? What do you guys say? Tachlis. Shasat Chak. What do you say? What? Shasat Chak. No? Shasatzchak. I didn't say this over last time I gave Shiur on Bishop because I was nervous about it. But now the Olam learns it out of sight. The Olam knows it. I was Mekel, Shasatzchak, right? And what I did was, because I was afraid that it would be appeared. So the next Friday night in Shul, I spoke about it. Right, to tell them about this kula, and that way I don't want anybody to think ever that such a thing is mutter, and I knew that people would find out it is that because everybody saw him coming over and talking to me in the middle of whatever after. So so I told her, they were not happy with me. They weren't happy with me. They go straight to put things on their hot plate, and that's when all this rate came out. All this rate came out. The Israelis started like people are saying how, what are you saying that you don't cook on a hot plate? Of course you cook on a hot plate. They don't mean that you actually cook on a hot plate, right? But they mean that you take food that isn't fully cooked and you let it continue to be fully cooked. Right? Is that really such a taina? That really, Nussi says no. So that's not derech levashel. It still doesn't have we're dealing now with the svaras of Mexican levashel. We're dealing with Mexican levashel. Is that a Mexican levashel? Right? Okay. So it's a Maisa Rav now. I want you to know that, something asked here, what was I saimach on? What do you mean, what was I saimach? That's what I'm saying. I'm being saimach on the Noida Behuda. I'm being saimach that there's a svar out there that a hot plate is not a mechsi in the first place. And I'm not saying that one should do this, but Shasat Chak, he's not going to have hot potato cocoa for the Kiddush, that's a stomach that's already considered a Shasat Chak. That's what I think. That's what I think. And all these Israelis, you don't know what they were giving me to potato kugels, and then one Israeli in the middle of Shiur, I'll never forget as long as he said, If Shalech Cholatzikar. Shalech Cholatzikar. I was thinking somebody's married to you. If Shalech Cholatzikar, you can eat it cold. Why should I learn, right? And okay, so when you're dealing with that, I learned my lesson, but you guys forget it, right? You guys, what would happen if I told you, huh? What would happen if I told you no hot potato cooked at the Kiddush? So who needed him to have a baby? Right? Who asked him to have a child? Right? You know what you're thinking. Okay, so let me get invited. That's number 2. Number 3 is that it's not in a gay case, but you're all wondering why we're not learning really Rishon and Dalet. Halacha l'maisa, Rishon and Dalet is really one thing that comes out Klapi Ar Sugya in the whole Rishon and Dalet that I could think of. If you want to make a barbecue, this is a normal thing, not such a normal thing. You want to make a barbecue on Erev Shabbos, right? So let's say you never learned Rishon and Dalet, okay? You never learned Rishon and Dalet. And you want to know, I want to make a barbecue on Erev Shabbos. Just tell me what to do. I'm not going to have a blech. I'm just putting the food straight on the barbecue, and I'm not a machmir. So what do I have to do? What do I have to do? Come again? Who? He has to do katim. I'm not doing katim. I'm not doing katim. What? Oh, so this is the one reason why I'm mentioning this halacha is because you would have made a mistake. You would have made a mistake, but it's so not negaya, Rabbi Cooper. Rabbi Cooper says you could just put it on kidra chaisa, and that is not true. That's not true. There's one special halacha in Rishon and Dalet that you do need to know. Shiur mentions it somewhere. I'll let you find it in Rishon and Gimel in the 100-something sifim over here is one place where he mentions it. So you should know it anyways. Okay, but the Shiur tells you over there. Go look over there. There's no heter of kidra chaisa when you're straight on the coals. Every case we've been talking about was on a pot, in a pan, and something. But if you take a chicken or you take a piece of murdered cow and you put them straight onto the coals, there's no heter of kidra chaisa because what's the whole lumdus of kidra chaisa? What? Straight on a barbecue, straight on. What? You mean it's a grate? What if it's interesting? I don't even know. Maybe we should learn it. I think even the great won't help you here. Yeah, I think even a great won't help you over here. Just one moment, please. Let me speak it out first before questions. The halacha is that kidra chaisa doesn't work when you're dealing with coals and no kedera, no pa. Why? Because we say that since the whole idea of kidra chaisa is that it's going to get cooked. It's not going to get cooked anyways, so you're Mesiach Das. But when something's straight on the coals, it cooks faster. So therefore, when something's straight on the coals, it cooks faster. So therefore, the person is Mesiach. He's not Mesiach Das, and therefore he's going to come to stoke. Okay, you're asking me about the grate. I don't think a grate makes a difference. It says al gabe gechalim. Aber betzlicha eitzel eish. What does he say? Lafuke tzli keder. Stomach. I don't know. Rabbi said probably in those days they didn't put like a grate straight on the coals. Like it was probably all ichi, and they put it straight on the coals. Probably even then they did. I don't know. It's a steer in the dukim. I'm afraid to admit I didn't look at this taka. But Aval Bishabas Chai Mutter L'Shoy Sahanim Milu in a pot. Aval Tzli She'etz La'Eish is aser. I guess he means when there's no pot, but I imagine there still could be a grate. Tzli. Yeah, you're tricking me. No, so you're causing trouble. Don't cause trouble. Well, it begins. Wait. Where's that woman? I minut. If you have kidra chaisa is a heter by a kidra, a kedera. Okay, that's the way you remember this. But there's no. But Rabbi said this case is so incredibly not negaya. You know why? You know why it's not negaya? Who in the world is leaving a raw piece of chicken on coal? I got new. What's going to happen if you leave a raw piece of chicken on the coals? What's going to happen? The other side's going to cook. The other side's going to be pink. It's going to be. It's not going to cook anyways properly, right? What? But the Americans, what do they have? And what? The gas grill has what? So you guys watching TV, the fancy people in America. So what? And then the other part. Okay, so then it's negaya. If you guys want to, if you American Bali Taiva, who are watching on TV right now, want to have grilled chicken on Friday night, you want to have a grilled chicken on Friday night, so then you can't do the heter of kidra chaisa. What you'd have to do is make sure she's Michael ben Drusai. Michael ben Drusai works. If it's already Michael ben Drusai beforehand, that means both sides have to get to Michael ben Drusai. I in the Gemara Menachas Daf Mem Zayin. Once it gets both sides to Michael ben Drusai, so then you could leave your chicken. So it's a negative case. What? Sorry? But they're going to have to leave their gas barbecue the whole entire Shabbos open. That's what you're telling me? It's like a weird case, right? Leaving on a gas grill. Somebody just wrote that even the American Bali Taifa wouldn't do that. Even the American Bali Taifa. Somebody just wrote, you don't know how big a Bali Taifa I am. Okay. Well, even the Svardim, no, the Svardim, not. I'm talking Ashkenazi Bali Taifa right now. Right. Okay, we saw once that the Svardim sometimes have our coolers too in this thing. That's number 3. Number four is like this. What's the shayla I'm being asked with a gas timer? I'm not sure what the question is. He's saying that's the answer. Just leave the gas timer on and then it'll go off itself. He said there's no such thing, right? And I have very big Bali Taiva here, Rabbi side, right? So, sure. The kids are by side. That's the only thing you need to know, at least Klape Ar Sugya from Reish Nandal. Klape Ar Sugya, you need to know that you don't have the answer of Kidra Chaisa. And Rabbi Cooper, you would have made that mistake. So now you don't have that to Kidra Chaisa because Taka, the coals cook faster. So it's got to be Michael ben Drusai. Again, I don't see who's actually going to do your eights anyway, so nobody would have done that, right? But they're saying no, they have this special type of Bali Taiva barbecue and it has a roof and it has a whole matzah over there. So upon him, no, Tachlis Karet. There's a makim to be making once it hits Michael ben Drusai. What's the shayla of charcoal, Rabbi Danziger? What's the shayla? No shayla. Okay, you're just hungry. Okay. So Rabbi say the Chut Shani in the 36th ha'ara, on the 26th ha'ara, I wrote here on page 135, maybe. He says like this. He says, listen to this. I found this so fascinating. He said the Chazon Ish was against the blech, but he wouldn't be against the diffuser. Now I have the word. He said he wouldn't be. He says, why was the Chazon Ish against the blech? That's very good for telling my friends in Bnei Brak. The Chazon Ish was against. I told you, it's just like a Geshmak Shiur. Once you know everything already, so now it's Geshmak to put it into play. The Chazon Ish was against the blech. He says, why? Because the fire got spread everywhere. So that's made it easier to spread fire, and it was a good way of cooking. And even though he said people in their houses might not do this, but it exists. That's what he says. He says, but why would anybody take a fire and just cover that specific fire? The Chazon Ish said, if you make a personalized blech, then that's okay, even according to the Chazon Ish. That's what Rav Nissen Karelitz says. He says, even I agree. The only reason I had a problem with a blech, the Chazon Ish says, is because the fire, it's a hechatimtza to get the fire to go there. And therefore, it's not a loik derech bishul. It's a very normal way of bishul. That's what the Chazon Ish, that's what the Chutshani, that's what Rav Nissen says. So he says, so if you're just taking a diffuser, which is a personalized blech, he wants to say that according to the Chazon Ish, that's mutter, and then that would be called a blech, even according to the Chazon Ish. He says, so then why didn't the Chazon Ish say the Tzeitzes? He explains in the time of the Chazon Ish, they didn't have stovetops that had this type of metzias. I ain't sure what do you mean, but it wasn't shaykh because that's what he says. So therefore, the diffuser is going to be mutter. It's good to know this, right? That means even if you want to be machmir like the Chazon Ish, so you get a personalized blech, right? Yeah, don't fully understand how Rav Nissen learned this in the Chazon Ish inside. But the Chazon Ish inside was notes of the Chazon Ish that Rav Grainham, and it's not like it was the actual Chazon Ish himself. Like that, I don't know. It seems to be that there was a machlokes amongst the first cousins, and I don't know. I'm not getting involved, but I found this to be very interesting. No, I was looking around. Does anybody talk about a diffuser? So the only person I found that talks about it is Rav Nissen Karelitz. And in that shtickle gufa, he said, so if the Oilam was nervous yesterday about a diffuser, so then even the Chazon Ish would be makel. I said the word right. It's similar. The diffuser. That's number 4. Number 5. Rav Nissen writes over there. Once I was there, I started reading all of his interesting read. So Rav Nissen says that the Chazon Ish would agree. Don't forget, if you take a pot and turn it upside down on a fire, that's a blech according to the Chazon Ish. He's not going to argue on the Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch and Reish and Gimel says that that's far away enough, and that's weird, and that's as long as it's an upside down pot and there's air in between and whatever. So the Orchos Rabbeinu, I found this fascinating. Right? So the Orchos Rabbeinu says, so you know what? I'm going to make a special Chazon Ish blech. What's a special Chazon Ish blech? He's going to take a pan, just a regular baking pan, Rabbi say. Just take a regular baking pan. A regular baking pan has a rim around it. Turn it upside down, blech, even according to the Chazon Ish, right? Or you want to be more aggressive or less aggressive, right? I remember when I lived in Panama, so I had a stovetop that was like somewhat like on a slant. You had to have Rachmei Shemayim on Erev Shabbos, but I had to use the blech that was there from the people before. It was like a special blech. What does it mean special? Like bent in a certain way. I'm getting nostalgic thinking if I get a little misty eyed. But the stove was a certain way, and the blech was a certain bent shape and whatever. And basically, the blech was not flush against the actual grates. Right? I was just asking my wife if she remembers. You had to lean that lip. You know the lip, right? So you had to lean the lip over, and it had to be, tucked into the knobs. They can't explain. They make up what I'm talking about. There's the knobs there, and it was tucked into the knobs. You have to bend it like that. It's tucked into knobs. But it was because of that. It was like it was not flush against the grate. It was basically, and the pots were on a thing. You have to say Pittel Tillim before Shabbos, whatever. It's got some eyes, right? But it was like about this much higher than the fire. So I realized all the years I had a Chazon Ish blech. What? Come again? I realized after I was thinking maybe the guy who rented the dira before me was a frumak. He was. Right? And I was thinking maybe he was just so makbid that he wanted people to do the Chazon Ish, and the stovetop wasn't even broken. And, maybe he broke it. Just a B that I should have a Chazon Ish plus. That's so geschmack and froh. No? I love it. What? No, it's not. You know what I'm saying? It was a certain way. You'd have to see it. But what? Come again? I'm saying, but it was. My point is, it was raised up. I'm not getting involved now. If the Olam does chop, I'm talking about doesn't matter. The point is, the Orchos Rabbeinu says, take a baking pan, turn it upside down. There's a hollow space. It's not flush. Gamarnu, even according to the Chazon Ish, that's considered a space, and even the Chazon Ish will consider that to be. The Chazon Ish said that's like a smicha. That's far away from the fire. That's already, that's already not something that just you diffuse the fire. No one would cook that way, I guess. I guess that's what the Chazon Ish's lamdas is going to be. He said the Chazon Ish is certainly Chazara, certainly Shehiyah, and certainly Chazara, and the Sina Chatchila, Chayra. Okay, maybe not. Maybe not. Okay. Who cares? We're talking right now about, we for sure would say no. I'm saying the Chazon Ish himself, it's a Shaila Nisin. The kids are Smicha, Shehiyah and Chazar for sure, yes. That's the Shulchan Aruch, right? The Shulchan Aruch is talking about Chazar. Right? Does everybody understand what I'm saying? No, I saw this when I saw this in Reb Nissen today, I thought the Olam would like this. I got excited. Another thing, the Orchos Shabbos, he writes in Beis Samech Tes. No, I don't know what I wrote here. In Beis, no, I don't know. I wrote here Beis Samech Tes Gimel. I don't know. I just got so angry. I think I don't know what I wrote over. Beis Samech Tes, maybe page Samech Tes. I don't know. He writes over there. Anywhere on a hot plate, and once you put food on a hot plate, then you're allowed to move it around on Shabbos indiscriminately. Right? He says on a hot plate, everything is equal and there's no question. Right? It's pashut. Right? There's nothing to argue on that. It's pashut. Right? Pashut. Yeah, does everybody agree it's pashut? Everywhere on a hot plate, that means Erev Shabbos, I put the challah and tir on the hot plate, the chicken soup here on the hot plate, and the potato kugel over there on the hot plate. right? So he says a hot plate is all one big fire. So therefore, you can do whatever you want. You can move things around on a hot plate. You can do things, you can move whatever you want on a hot plate and whatever. A hot plate is all one big equal thing, right? So I just had a kasha, it's like a shayla. Why would somebody move something around on a hot plate? Interesting shayla. Interesting shayla. So I asked my wife, did I ever move things around on the hot plate? She said, yeah, of course. I said, why do you move things around on the hot plate? She said, because everyone knows, because some parts of the hot plate are hotter than others. I said, so could you have a part on the hot plate which is not yad saledis by? She said, yeah. She said, probably you touch it, it's going to hurt your fingers, But she said, you can for sure have places on a hot plate, and it depends on the hot plate, But you can for sure have places on a hot plate which will not get food to yad saledis by. I said, really? It's a good thing to know, right? She said, our hot plate, yes. She said that my mother's hot plate. No, but I've explained. She started going through all the hot plates of Kallus, the family politics, right? But I'm saying, so you just have to know that this is an unfactually true statement. This is a false statement, right? Because if you have, it's not exeris. If you have, there's no games. There's no games. If you have a piece of metal, and on that part of the metal, me gila to the Orcha Shabbos, how's he know such a thing? If you have a piece of metal over there, it's not yat saledis by. So then I got news for you, Rabbi. So I'm afraid to say this in public, but you can take. If you know that it's not going to get the food to yat saledis, I don't know if I would tell you to do this because here's a light plug that I could taka here. It's something weird that your children are going to learn from in the next door and make mistakes. The chas v'shalom, they'll do like the art scroll book and they'll start taking potato kugel and putting it straight onto the hot plate. Right? But I got news for you. If you know you have a hot plate and the side of your hot plate is, let's even better. Let's say it's broken, right? Or let's say, it doesn't get the yad saledis by. It doesn't make food get the yad saledis by. So there's no xeris. If you're allowed to take food straight from the fridge, as long as it's, in bishal chabish or whatever, and put it onto that part of the hot plate. And the other direction too, if on Erev Shabbos you have a potato go all the way on the edge and you know that is not hot at all, and you're just waiting to take off the chicken soup and you want to take it from the area which is not yad saledis by and put it to the area which is yad saledis by, of course that's also. Nobody in the world would think such a thing is mutter. Of course it's also. So that statement is incorrect. Okay. That's number 5. Number 6. I was asked today, is that clear? Okay. No, clear. Number 6, I was asked today, somebody told me that what he does every Friday night, he told me he's afraid, he's watching us on TV right now. He told me that his brother-in-law, every Friday night, he's afraid of fire. There's a lot of fires and stuff. So he, as a cholent, on Friday night, the cholent goes, off. The cholent goes, let's say it cooks until 11 o'clock, whatever. He doesn't like it that a cholent is on when he's sleeping, 11 o'clock, the cholent goes off. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning on a Shabbos clock. 6 o'clock in the morning, it goes back on. Right? Is there any problem with this? No, you learned also. Is there any problem with this? So yesterday I talked about Nesina L'Chatchila. So the Chazon Ish said this case is aser. I'm talking where we don't have issues of, let's go in order. I'm talking where we don't have issues of Shem Yechata. Right? Let's say there's a blech, or let's say it's a hot plate. If it's a crock pot, then you're definitely getting involved in a machlekes rishonim because there's a shami yechata, right? So that much for sure. If it's a crock pot, I don't know what the case was, but if it was a crock pot, I definitely don't think you should do that. Certainly not. Certainly, I don't know if I certainly wouldn't answer. I don't think we would answer that because there was no Maisa done and whatever, and this sheet is a mechsi, okay? But if it's a hot plate, let's say tapa, he described to me, the person who asked me the shayla, that it's a hot plate. So if it's a hot plate, so the Maisa, what'd you do here? You didn't do a Maisa, there's no Mechsi. There's no Shem Yichata because it doesn't have 2 settings. Okay? Never mind, the Chazon Ish holds this case is Aser because he holds that, I don't know, I don't think you should do this. Ramosha says you shouldn't be using Shabbos clocks in general. Okay, but if somebody comes and he tells me I'm scared of fire, and he doesn't have Vaynik Shabbos and he can't sleep at night because he's nervous about leaving, I'm not going to stop him. I don't think you should do it. I don't think you should do it. But again, if it's a crock pot, it's a crock pot that doesn't have a blech on it, so then that's not the right thing to do. If it's a hot plate, so then you certainly can't say it's also. The Hartzvi says it's mutter. Hartzvi says it's mutter. The Chazon Ish says also. And then it's certainly mutter. I just don't think it's like a proper anhaga that a person should do. But if someone tells me I can't sleep on Friday night, knowing that there's fire in my house, then I can hear it. I'm not brazen enough and brave enough to fight him. I don't think it's necessary, but I wouldn't stop him. Come again? Why is it not regular chazara? In which case? Yeah, but you're not doing the maisa, so there's no iser mechsi unless you do a maisa. And then what? I'm not sure what you're asking. In which case?
In the crock pot.
A crack pot, there is an issur to do a ma'aseh chazara into on blech. That's it. If there's no blech, if there's a blech in the crack pot, then it's fine, right? Again, a hot plate is mutter. Me'ikar din, it's mutter. The Chazon Ish aser, right? Chazon Ish aser this case. Yeah, Chazon Ish aser mamish this case. We spoke about it. That's why I'm not being married on this verse. But Chazon Ish aser in this case, I wouldn't do something every single Shabbos that Chazon Ish held is aser, even if I disagree with the Chazon Ish. I'm not big enough to disagree as it is. But I wouldn't do it. I certainly wouldn't tell this person it's aser. However, I would just tell him he has to make sure that it has either one setting or that it is a blech. Right? That's that's number 6. Number 7. Someone told me, Derech Agav, in the Orchos Shabbos in Beis, our Kuf Yud Ches and our Kuf Chav, he brings down that Rosh Shlomo Zalman did not allow going from the part of the blech, which is Yad Soledis Bay, to the part of the blech, which has the fire as a lichatchila. He only allowed it as a limit schus. Remember, we spoke about this whole Rosh Shlomo Zalman in the Aura and Shmir Shabbos, and he said that whole shtickle Torah. It's an incorrect shot in the Shmir Shabbos. If you look in the Shmir Shabbos, you see it's not what Rosh Shlomo Zalman is saying. Shlomo Zalman was talking about when you're on the part of the blech which is not Yad Soledis Bay. But if you're on the part of the blech which is Yad Soledis Bay, and you want to go from there to the part which is on the Eish Mamish, so that is mutter indiscriminately. You can go back and forth. Erev Shabbos, on Shabbos, that doesn't make a difference. Once it's the part that's Yad Soledis Bay, the whole Rosh Shlomo Zalman limit schus was on the part that's Ein Yad Soledis Bay. Does everybody understand what I'm talking about? Being Mekatzer, because we learned it, but that's Pashut. Another thing is someone was telling me that there are hotels. We spoke about this in Mir Lakum, but this is really more the sugya, that there are hotels that, what do? How do they have hot chalent? So Shabbos morning, they take the Leroy and Tyrone and whatever, and they tell him, Leroy, take the chalent and put the chalent onto, I don't know what they do, hot plate or fire or whatever, and make it hot. Make it hot. They do it mamish lechatchila on Shabbos day. Someone told us when we learned the Mir Lakum this, we remember. So that's what they do. The hotels do that. I don't want to, maybe this is why Hashem took away the parnasa from the hotels, if this is true. But Akapanim, I don't want to be Malamed Ra and all of the hotels. I can't believe that they all do this. But the Maisa, and they say it's a Bir Halacha in our Siman that says that such a thing is mutter. Yeah, okay. So let's see what the Bir Halacha says. We learned this already, but let's see how the Bir Halacha says it. Bir Halacha says, he says this was called, it's a chalent, so therefore it gets involved in the shaila bishal chabishal b'davar lach, and it's a shaila of chazara. You're doing chazara straight from a fridge. It's nizim lechatchila. So it's a guy, right? So it's a shvus to shvus. The best it could be is a shvus to shvus. Plus we have the issue of yesh bishal chabishal b'davar lach, which we know is a shaila. Is that me'ikar din? Is that a chumrah? The Mishabura sheet is it's me'ikar din. So what's the psak of our Rabbi, the Mishabura? He says mikol ma'akaim nira yesh litzmach alav. L'tzarech Shabbos lahakol. He goes on. He explains when he explains this. He says, tzarchian. He says, im hu. He says, well, he's talking about now our case by the case of there. He was talking about yavish. Yavish, he has one psak. He says, no, yesh lismach lahakol if you have no choice. But then he talks about chalent. He says, yesh b'shalach habishol by tzarchian if you could be saimich. So he says, achem u'litzarech Shabbos ve'ein loy eitzah cheres efshur yesh lismach avda. Bir Halacha's psak is that if you have no other choice, right, and it's a tzarech Shabbos, so maybe you could be saimech on this. I don't know. You think this is a proper anhaga for a hotel to do every single Shabbos that has, kavaldik echsherim like Rabbanut Ramallah and everything like that, right? It's such a good extra. So don't you think the Rav HaMachshir, don't you think she should try to find a different eitzah? Don't you think she should find a different eitzah? Every single Shabbos to be saimich on something that the Mishnah Berurah is not sure if you could be saimich on? I find this to be absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable. You want to know what would happen if somebody was in the hotel? Could he eat the challah? Chazara, eat that guy. Probably out to Migdal Milser. I don't know. What's the pshat? I guess because these hotels are all subsidized probably, and they don't charge a lot of money. So they want to save money on the hot plates and stuff, right? So they don't want to leave hot plates going the whole Shabbos and things like that. And whatever. Maybe they're afraid of fire. So then why can't they just do the Shabbos clock of that person and whatever? What's the pshat? I don't know. To me, it sounds dreadful. And chas v'chalila. that a Rav Machshir should be seimich on such a thing every single Shabbos. Every single Shabbos. I don't know how a hotel can give a hechsher. I don't know how a hechsherim can give a hechsher for a hotel that does such a thing on Shabbos. Something that, it's one thing. You come to a matziv, you come to a situation, to go and do such a situation, lichatchila every shach, chas v'chalila. There's no way in the world you're allowed to anyways do a shvus to shvus lichatchila. It's absolutely forbidden to put yourself into a situation of a shvus to shvus. They're putting themselves lichatchila. Mishabura is not even sure if you're in that situation b'diavad. Okay? So I emphatically say that this Rav Machshir, she should get another job. That's number 8. What are you up to over there? Sorry? All right, you can talk, yeah. It's on somebody's own house. So you should know, Rabbi, say, in your own house, you better keep in mind, when you get goyim to come to the house, it's got sometimes very late there. A goy is not allowed to plug in a hot plate, Rabbi said. That's a shiloh of deraisa. There's no heter of Amir Lakim for deraisis. So plugging in a hot plate, all the things we're talking about is returning, doing chazara to a previously existing fire, but the goy can't put on the fire, okay? And don't forget also bishalakum or whatever. Then somebody asked me this shiloh. He asked me something called a bread machine. A bread machine. God, I don't even know what it means because on Shabbos you don't have bread, you have challah. Right? So what's in a gear? What's in a gear? What's a gear? A gear? What's in a gear? Meaning he's not yet a guy, a Jew? What? Sorry? Oh, you mean, yeah. I don't have bread, I'm allowed milk. I have pizza. You're causing trouble up here. What? Some Bachrim prefer the bread machine's bread than the Yeshiva's challah. He's saying the Yeshiva's challah is like, it's too halig. Okay. So, I don't know. I tried to find out what this is. Does anybody know what a bread machine is? It's like a real thing. Okay, I looked into it. I thought I was the only person that it's always like this sun oven matzah, right? I keep getting, by the way, thank you everybody. I'm being sent 15 videos a day of the sun oven guy. Mamish, this guy is unbelievable, right? But upon him, so this guy sent me a bread. I know I'm going to get 20 videos of the bread machine guy now. You put in the flour, you put in the water, you put in also because the bracha when you have to daven and everything. So you put the davening inside the machine and everything, and it comes out bread. Somebody asked me, allowed to turn it on before Shabbos and have it on Shabbos. So I mean, I don't know clearly what this thing is. First of all, if it makes noise, you have problems of Av Shemilsa. Does it make noise? I mean, I imagine such a thing makes noise. What? Not only in the beginning? Well, okay. I don't know what this thing is. But the Maisa Tachla is correct when it comes to bread. You got to make sure that the bread gets the creamus upon him, which is, it has to, the whole outer layer has to already crust and everything by the time that Shkia comes. I mean, it's not going to be, what's in the get? It's a get person that like 2 minutes before Shkia, you realize, like, hey, I don't have challah for Shabbos. What? Fresh for Shabbos day. Oh, you mean I'll put like a Shabbos clock? What? It goes overnight? Oh, mom is this thing on. And it has 2 settings and whatever? No. Because I was worried about Shahia if it has 2 settings. Let's say it has 1 setting. If it has one setting? It has a few settings. So then you have a problem of Shahia. So then, no, I'm saying then you have a problem of proper Shahia. It's got to be, well, I guess if it's Krimas Panim, if you got the Michael Ben Drusai, Krimas Panim by the time Shkia hits, it's nothing by the time Shkia hits? I mean, if you do it on 10 minutes before, it's not going to be anything. Okay, so then you can't do it. What? Kidra Chaisa. No, I'm not sure if there's a heter of Kidra Chaisa by bread. What? Come again? Fire's not even on. Oh my goodness, I totally didn't know what this thing is. So the fire goes on later. Okay, so it's for sure, Aser. Because you're going to do, it's not going to be Michael Ben Drusai by the time. It'll be the same shot. No, but it has 2 settings. Coffee machine only had 1 setting. I'm saying if it has 2 settings, it's checkmate. If it has 1 setting, then we get involved in that shot and you started it before Shabbos, so then that's not so bad. That was the coffee machine Shiloh. But why isn't it Muksa? Then why isn't it Muksa? Because it's Oymid, it's a Shiloh of... all right, I got to think about it. I see now. I'm Akir Mekaymi. I didn't realize what this thing was. I had in my head some whole different picture. Okay, I'll get the videos tonight, I'm sure. Now, another Shiloh. Okay, we got to start at the moment. There's no gates, but one last Shiloh. So somebody told me a very interesting mitzias about our urns. This could mamish change the world as we know it today. I should end with this, Shiloh. Yeah, well, I have two more shilas, so I won't end with shilas. One shilah is, this could change the whole entire world as we know it. Someone told me that our urns, they go on and off, and it makes so much sense, right? The heating element goes on and off when it's on the Shabbos mode. It makes so much sense. That's probably what happens, right? It's not that there's a red coil there the whole time. And then probably, every hour, whatever, it goes on, the red coil goes on, or whatever. He's taking, not that shot, but that's not the issue because it doesn't change anything because it's on a Shabbos mode. As you taking out the water, it doesn't change anything. But listen to this shayla. The challenge is burning out. He wants to take water out of the urn and he wants to take it in his cup and now pour it into the challah pot. We spoke, mutter, as long as you have a blech, everything's great. Wait a minute. Could you take water from a thermos? Excuse me. Could you take water from a thermos and put it into the challah? No way. Why not? Because that water's on the karka. Right? So this water, which is in an urn, every 45 minutes turns into a thermos. All right? So Banashal, two problems. Case number one, let's say you took it out, Taka, when the fire's off. Let's say that'll be the case. So now you're taking it out of a thermos. You look at the actual Shabbos urn, you know what it's called? You know what it's called? The name of the Shabbos urn, right? It's called Shabbos thermos. I thought it was just like a bunch of Israelis that didn't know how to write, they write like American and it really says like Germany or whatever, it's like, what I'm talking about. So they wrote that, I have to know they really mean it. It's a thermos. Shot is it keeps the food hot. The fire goes off. Right for the time the fire's off. That was how it was described to me, the Metzias. I looked into it a little bit. Right for the time the fire's off. Now you have this thermos. You're taking water out of a thermos. So you're basically taking water from karka and putting it into so Elamai, you have the Ran. I don't know if you have the Ran. Who knows if the fire was on during Ben Ishmashes? I have no idea. What? I have no idea. They told me that Roy for the hour, 45 out of the hour, it's not on. No, is that no, it's off it goes off for 45 minutes. What? That's what someone described to me today. Well, it's not off for 45 minutes. It goes on and off, on and off. What? Oh, you're agreeing with me or agreeing with them? You're agreeing with them. And then what? It's on? I don't know. The way it was described to me is that the coils, that it's unnecessary. That it's unnecessary for them. What? Yeah, it's well insulated. If you're arguing in Metzias, so this is the Metzias I'm dealing with in this case, okay? In this case, if you say that's not the case, not the case. But if that's not the case, Rabbi say, so then it's probably a red hot coil, and then it goes off, but who cares? The actual metal is still boiling hot. So then that's our Yad Soledis by Yadikablech. But here, the way it was described to me is you can have a situation of where the actual heating element is no longer hot, but it's well insulated, like you were saying. That's how it's described to me. That it's well insulated, and therefore, let's say it gets up till he spoke out, let's say it's like 180 degrees or something like that. So now what'll happen is it'll go down to like 160 degrees, but the heating element will go off. They don't need the heating. And then by the time it gets to 160, is already, let's say half an hour, I don't know the number. And now the heating element goes back on. But the heating element's been off for 20 minutes, 30, whatever it is. So now you can have a matzav where you don't even have the Ran. You might not even have the Ran. What? Who cares? It's karka. There's no heter of Wait, slow. If I take a pot, a boiling hot pot, kli rishon, cooked it up before Shabbos, take it, wrap it in towels and everything, and I keep it boiling hot. Can I take, we started at Atman, okay? We started at Atman, I take it boiling hot, because you can't do that on Shabbos. You can't wrap on Shabbos, Atman, again, we started at Atman. Can I take that chicken soup, boiling hot chicken soup, okay? Well, water, whatever. I take a boiling hot water. I realize on Erev Shabbos that I'm not going to have an urn. My urn is doing all types of weird things. So I cook up the water boiling hot. I take it and put it into a pot, and I wrap around towels, which you're allowed to do on Erev Shabbos. We started at Atman. Atman on Erev Shabbos, if it's a davar she'enoi moisiv hevel, is permitted. If it's a towel, a blanket, you wrap it and it'll work. Advice, I do it, it'll work. If you do it on Erev Shabbos, it'll work. Can I take that water now and put it into the challah? 100% not. It's a gummer. So I take kli rishon, who cares? It's a gummer. That is the chayr of this urn. This could change the world forever as we know it. What? What is that? Sorry? First of all, those svaras were not lechatchila without the Ran. We were not samich on those svaras where Moshe Feinstein says Tzadik Levracha and Dalet Samachal says we can't be samich. Shlomo Zalman says you can't be samich. So he's saying a big chiddush. I'm saying Rabbi Sher is saying a big chiddush. He's saying, let's say you have a situation of where you're setting, meaning maybe this is 10 times better, he's saying. If you have a situation of where, I take something, I wrap it in a thermos, I make a self-made thermos, or I wrap it in a thermos, and I plan on putting it into the chalent, right? That's already pushing it. That's already, just a moment. That's called emes karka. That's karka. You can't go and say, but I held it. Let's say I have it right next. I have a thermos right next to the chalent. And it says over there, to only be used for the chalent because, you have issues with the coffee and you have a separate urn because you don't want to, I'm sure there's people actually even do this, you have separate urn for that. And so that would be Isser Gomer because it's like a holding ground. He's holding in his hand, right? Oh, come on. That's karka amiti. He's not really holding it. And we can't be makel on such a thing. All as far as we saw, we're not lechatchila, and certainly without the Ran, they're not lechatchila. So therefore, that won't work. But he's saying, but here I set up a system where I'm putting something in a thermos, and every few minutes I put it back on the fire, right? So maybe we don't even look at it. That, if you had an emunah in those svaras that we spoke about before of oidei biyadai, because I'm doing something to just be oiches in it and daite lachzer, I'm sort of holding it. So this is the biggest sort of holding it shayach. I keep on putting a system that puts it right back on the fire, puts it right back on the fire. Okay, it's a big var. It's a big var. You need to be, how big do you need to be to say such a var? What do you say? Huh? Shlomo Zalman, to be such a var. Shlomo Zalman said it? So in other words, Rabbi Lieberman is explaining that over here, the pshat is that chazara is when you take it off of the fire, right? Here, if I can, I make sure that there's always going to be a fire. The opposite. Don't look at it that I make sure that it's always going to be on the fire. I make sure that even when it goes off, the fire is coming back. The fire is coming back. I set up a system that the fire is always coming back. So that's called chazara. Hastel's chazara. Now, Taka, maybe you took it off at the point of when it's not on the fire at all. And let's say that Metzias exists. I see you guys are arguing the Metzias. I don't know. Let's say that's the Metzias. And now it's Avada if the actual plate is still boiling hot and it's Yatzalad is plate. I'm not talking about that case. That's called a fire. That's Rabbi Isai. That's no different. Give me a word for that, Rabbi Isai. What's that called? What's it called? No? It's called grufa. It's called grufa. What's grufa? Rabbi Isai, you allowed to take a cholent from a grufa fire and put it onto a grufa fire? The answer is of course yes. Right? What's grufa? What's grufa in the times of Chazal? They took out the coals from the oven and it was just a boiling hot floor. Can I take that water, which is on that boiling hot floor, and even though there's no red fire there, and take it and put it into a cholent, which is on a different grufa? Of course, yes. Right? So in that case, I'm not discussing that for sure. If that's the Metzias in the urns, which you guys seem to be convinced, you looked into it, or I didn't look into it, but what was described to me was this: that if what they're saying is correct, and that the floor is garif and it's boiling hot, but it's just not red coals. And then that's mutter gomer. And there's nothing to discuss. And I was tricked with the whole entire shot. The way it was described to me is that the fire can go off. Right? In the Sefer Shabbos, he clears the shaila, but he discusses the case that you're talking about. And that I don't see as a shaila b'chlal. Meaning that for sure is mutter. He's on that case. If that case should be mutter. And that it's hard to understand what the needing could be because that's grufa. And grufa is mutter gomer. What's the difference if it's grufa from an oven, if it's grufa from, as long as it's boiling hot and you're taking it out, that's not called karka. But what if the Metzias is like they're saying? And there could be an urn they make one day like this, right? That the pshat is it's based on a thermostatic matziv. It could happen, right? And now the floor is no longer hot. And then 20 minutes later, it goes on. And now you start up the whole process again and whatever. So if that's the case, so then you have to come on to this very big chiddush and to say that the pshat is that, but you set up a system where it's going to keep on coming back. I hear it. You don't have to be marish the world for such a shayluch. I mean, pashtus, it's mutter. I'm just saying, but what? The problem with the oven is it goes up very, very fast. I played a lot with the ovens lately. The oven, after literally 5 minutes, is the walls are mamish cold. Here, it's hard to tell if that's why I have a big thought that you're incorrect in the Metzias, because the walls of the oven are cold immediately, right? Once it goes off. Right? That's how the Metzias is. When there's a thermostat going in the oven, it goes on all the time. It just keeps on going on all the time. That's what happens in the oven. Here, because it's hot water and it's insulated and it's all connected, so therefore I don't think it has to be going on the whole time. That's in the Metzias. You have to just find out if that's Metzias is true. That's a chayim. Come again? Excuse me, Rabbi March? Yeah. The case where the fire goes off and what? It went off, right? Right. So there we had svaras that maybe that's called daita lachzor and whatever. There you had the ran also. We were mitzvah the ran. The question is we have the ran. Huh? So Rabbi March says, listen, if we were Mekel, here we're doing it lechatchila every single Shabbos. Those shilos that we spoke about, where he says if we're Mekel on the shilos of Nichba Eish and whatever, so we should be Mekel here too. Okay, first of all, we said it's much harder to be Mekel if you don't have the Ran. Number one. Number two is Stam. I mean, that was a Shasat Chak. The cholent burnt. The cholent went off. Here, I mean, to set up the system every Shabbos, a person should try and figure out a way to get out of it. And instead, he should have a little pot that he keeps on the side of the hot plate in case his cholent burns out. The plate, if they'd be right, I would tell you have to take a pot of hot water and leave it on the hot plate for such emergencies. And Avadi, you could still use it. You can still use it to make your coffees and stuff. I'm just saying you wouldn't be able to do chazara. That would be the only shot. Excuse me, what? But I'm saying you shouldn't set up such a matzav all the time. It's a normal thing. It depends. You're right. If it happens, you once in 52 Shabbos, Rabbi said, boss. No, but the walls are, that's what I'm trying to tell you. The walls are not hot because it's a red hot coil. The walls are hot because the water is boiling hot. Okay, so what? Rabbi said, what? Sorry?
That's the urn on the outside.
The metal urns. I'm thinking. I was glad not. I don't know what the deal is. Those urns are. Plastic urns are not. But you gotta fix your urn. Well, plastic. No? The pumping urns are not hard on the side. Everybody say, if the Metzias is like the Olam is saying, is that the walls are yatz lesbai, then the shayla is batal and mevutal, and it's mutter gomer. There's no shayla in the world. I didn't say for all Shabbos. Now, there's no shayla. Now, one more thing. If I say, can I turn on my boiler from Motzei Shabbos? You can't turn it on Shabbos. Can I in Erev Shabbos set the Shabbos clock that the boiler is going to go on, an hour before Shabbos is over or something like that? An hour before, it's very hot. It's very cold in America now, probably. No, the other side of the globe or something, right? So can I set my Shabbos clock that the hot water is going to come on, the water dude is going to come on, and then Motzei Shabbos I'll have hot water, right? So let's try and figure this out. It's one setting. It's one setting. Your dude shemesh has one. Your dude chashmal has one setting. On off, right? Just cooking up the water. It's on off. You're not doing a maisa, so there's no chazara and there's no shemi yachate. Chayyim should be mutter, no? Chayyim should be mutter. Right? Even though we spoke yesterday that there's a shemi yachate for the purpose of showering and whatnot. But here, that's only if there's a shemi yachate. There's no shemi yachate. It's a one setting. Chayyim should be mutter. Someone told me someone asked her. It's a big person, but it's mutter. What? Manny just told me that Rabbi Yitzchak is mekel. That's mutter. What? Yeah, I'm saying. So Elamai, he wants to know, would the Chazon Ish be mekel in this case? So here it's a little bit different. Here, why is it that before when it came to the challenge, I said not to do this as a lichatchila on a Friday night? No, he said that before when it came to the cholent, I wasn't so happy with them turning on the cholent on a Shabbos clock and letting it go on and off. And over here, what's the difference? It's also just a one setting. There. So the only thing I could say is here's a little bit better. Should I tell you why? Because maybe the water is called tach b'teh. Maybe the water is tach b'teh. Because the whole system of stoking is in a place which is far removed from your ability from the Magayad, like the Tzitz Eliezer said by the mikvah. So maybe you have another svar here. A little bit, maybe you have another svar over here. And the only one that was machmir was the Chazon Ish, who was making on this type of tach b'teh. So that's nice. That's a nice chah. But wait a minute, we have to start at Mana. Right? We have to start at Mana because there's only now 5.5 working days left, right? It's not the Meida. So Rabbi say, I can tell you the first halacha batmana. The first halacha batmana. What happens? There's two types of atmana. You all started atmana, so you know already. There's two types of atmana. There's atmana ben moisef hevel. Atmana be'eina moisef hevel. Atmana be'eina moisef hevel means if you're wrapping a pot in something that does not increase heat, just retains heat, like a blanket, that is mutter on Erev Shabbos, and that's forbidden on Shabbos. So you know what I just said? I just said like this. What happens if your cholent is taka on the hot plate and it's 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, and the electricity goes off? You're not going to neighbors, you're not this, there's no goyim walking around. The goyim that are walking around the street in England at 12 o'clock at night, you don't want to invite them into your house. Man, you know, when the electricity goes, could you come in for me? Yeah, sure. Right? You don't want him in your house, right? You don't want him in your house in the afternoon. You certainly don't want him in your house 12 o'clock at night. So 12 o'clock at night, you're a fly. So what are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? We got to have cholent, right? So I'm going to tell you the great eitzah. And you know what? It works. How do I know it works? Because someone sent me this, Shiloh. Someone sent to me, why am I dealing with this whole electricity going off? He told me, his fire went off at 12 o'clock at night. This is what he told me. His fire went off at 12 o'clock at night. He said he got mamish. He saw the electricity went out. He said, what am I going to do? And he remembered all these mishnayos about the metoimin and atman and everything. And he realized it must be a gewaldige eitzah. Say, why are you laughing? That's right. He took a blanket. This is what he did. He took a blanket and he wrapped it immediately. Listen what he did. He told me, it was unbelievable. He wrapped the actual pot in a blanket, and he told me it stayed good for 10 hours. He said he davened early. It's unbelievable. You see how these things really work from Chazal. They want to work 10 hours. I don't know. Man, I guess it was a big pot. It worked for 10 hours. 10 hours. So this person, he was over on what? What was he over on? Atman is one thing. He was over on much worse. He was over on Bittul Torah. Okay? That means that he learned Perek B'met Toimin, and all he did was come out, wow, Atman is such a great idea. Oh, what a wonderful thing. So he was over on Bittul Torah, Ma'az Ba'aretz, right? Ma'az Ba'aretz. This guy learned, wow, this is a great thing, how to do Averis, right? So this is the classic example of atmana, is that you're not allowed to take it off of the fire and go and wrap it. Because atmana on Shabbos, even in a davar she'eina moisef hevel, is asur. So no one can say we didn't start. Now we started, it's official. But tomorrow, Rabbi says, no games. Doilam, go into atmana, because we have how many working days, Rabbi Khan? 5 working days. I can do it, Lamaisa. I need 4. So, but I am going to actually, so get yourself moving.
The pot has handles and there's a gap.
What?
The pot has handles and there's a gap.
I'm not sure if that's called a gap. I was wrapped it that tight. And everything.
Okay.
Bittul Torah.
You can go to you can listen to it.
Bye, little Fiscus girls. Bye, Rabbi Silverman. Bye, Ellie. Thank you for coming on. You got to mention today. Bye, Rabbi Katzman. Bye, Rabbi Markstein. Be careful. There's a car in front of you, Rabbi. Bye, Daniel Richards. Bye, Dovi. Bye, Shalom Rosenberg. Bye, Rabbi Michaeli. Bye, Rabbi Mazur. Bye, Rabbi Siegel. Bye, Manyard. Bye, Rabbi Markstein. Bye, Rabbi Rutenberg. Call to Rabbi Yodekin. Call to Walden Umberlach. Call to the Basco. Call to Rabbi Spira. I think I got you all. Bye, Rabbi Meisner. Call to. Come back already, Rabbi Meisner. What are you doing? Switzerland, they're going to take you.